It's Mike, and I have to admit, previously I thought that Paul Joseph Watson was playing for the other team, but recently what I found out is that he's actually a major player. In my previous video, I talk about some things that make it seem like Paul is getting some looks, but he doesn't wanna fool around with just anybody. However, this article has some information that makes us think that Paul Joseph Watson might be a so-called F-boy, to say it nicely by YouTube standards. In this channel we have zero tolerance for simping, and we are all about big pimping. Picture there is me and some of my friends. Those were happier days. Unfortunately, recently I've been having to cry. That is because in the comments people criticize my English, and that really got me down. So I went to cry to my girl, I went to cry to my friends, then I went to cry to my mother, and after all of them had gotten sick and tired of me whining, I went and I cried with the cows. And that is where I am right now recording this, so sorry for the quality. This article is written by an anonymous girl, so we don't know who it is. The article starts: as a girl who follows a lot of conservative activists online, you can only imagine how special I felt to have been messaged by none other than Paul Joseph Watson himself, and that's bolded. A few months ago in my Twitter DMs. This goes a little bit to the simping. Paul Joseph Watson is sending DMs to women on the internet. That is a bad idea. I never send those. I will reply to those if it makes any sense, but I'm not gonna send them. That's just not a good idea. That's simping. Anyway, I've always looked up to PJW, and he was one of the main YouTubers I identified with because of his taste in music and his sense of humor. Okay, I have no idea what is going on here. I'm gonna have to admit I don't watch a lot of PJW. I didn't know he talked about music, but I guess so. I have seen him critique like modern art and like support classical art. So maybe he's a classical rock fan or something. I don't know. Anyway, as well as his bad boy attitude. Bad boy attitude. That is one way to describe it. Although I have to say, like, it is correct that like if the guy shouting at the camera is usually more appealing than the guy who is just like, look at all these references. Like, nobody give a F about no reference. Like, what they want to hear is a guy, speaking like at the camera. I was obviously flattered that he even knew who I was, and over the next few weeks we began messaging back and forth. Okay, so we can already see that there is some power distance between the girl writing this and Paul. So it reminds me of like a musician and a fan meeting after stage, where there is this kind of power distance that makes it complicated. Sending each other memes and generally chatting about life and what I was doing. He eventually asked for my number and we began texting each other regularly as well. So this is not so much simping, so he got to the beginning part and now he's like moving forward. He's like, seem to be doing some smart things. I wouldn't do this, but I understand. He'd send me selfies of him in what I presumed was his bathroom, which looking back I now think was kinda off. Here's a couple of them so you can see what I mean. If you really wanna see all the expressions that Paul Joseph Watson puts out, you can go and see them. But this one, to me, is the funniest, so this is the one I'll put. It's just kinda like, you know what I'm saying? It's kinda like, I don't know, you draw your own conclusions. But anyway, like, sweet old Paul, he seems like he in love. Article continues. I was still flattered even be talking to him, let alone receiving selfies, but I just thought it was a bit odd that he'd send me these out of the blue. I started sending selfies back to him as well as just random pics, so we can see what Paul is doing. It seems to be working, because he is like trying to charm her with his adorable expressions, and it seems to be working, I guess, because she's responding in that way. But of course, I understand that because of the power distance, it's kind of sketchy, but still, like, let's see. He started making quite he started to make, is that like flirting comments? Anyway, about what I was wearing. Okay, I should read the sentence until the end. So it makes sense now. So he's kind of like flirting with the clothes and stuff. That is always kind of creepy, like, especially if you haven't met. Like, you should meet. Like, I think chatting on the internet, it is, like, well, at least based on this story, it does work for him. But I think most of the time it's just, like, you need to see each other, and you need to, like, be, physically present, even if you're just friendly. Because that's the only way I think you can have, like, a real connection. But I might be wrong, you never know. Anyway, how old I was, that is like, why is he asking? But of course, if this author looks very young, of course he might be asking because he doesn't want to end up like R. Kelly, so it makes some sense. When I told I was in my early mid-20s, okay, so you would think that it's recognizable, but there are some people in their mid-20s that are like, like you don't know. He said that was good because I still had eggs, and that a lot of women online are too old and have no eggs. I don't know if you have seen, but I have seen some like videos about this egg stuff. Some of them are pretty funny, so I think he's referring something that the author might not know. It's like internet memes. Again, I wasn't massively sure if that was normal, but looking back, I just felt like he was teasing me and being playful. Yeah, and like he was complimenting, because it's common that if you want to compliment somebody, you make fun of people who are like different from that person, and it might seem even like cruel, like this, like no ex. But the thing is that it's like if a girl is short, you might say something negative about taller people because you want to make the short person feel better. So there is some logic, and like actually I would like to see those messages. I think he's referencing the memes or whatever. He eventually invited me to his flat in London one weekend, which I gleefully accepted. Okay, so whatever Paul is doing, it's working. I was really nervous and made sure to look my best, obviously, and he was really nice when I first met him. He was quite relaxed and chilled out, not at all like his character on YouTube, and we ended up spending the evening watching documentaries and cuddling on the sofa. So, well, this is so obvious, because I think even people like Alex Jones, who this Pouches Watson guy used to work for, like, it's a personality that you put out. Like, for me, I don't know if that really exists, because I just talk to the camera and get maybe 2 comments maximum. But like I can imagine if you have like a larger audience and you keep doing it more, then you have a character. So that makes some sense. Because like I think it's easier to perform when you are not yourself, and I think Paul Watson, he is performing. Anyway, he ordered some alcohol for me, and after a few hours, one thing led to another, and we ended up in the bedroom. Okay, so Paul Watson starts messaging this random girl who is following him, and then it works. Like he gets kind of like send stuff, and he's like checking, is she responding, she is responding, and eventually it leads to the bed. So like even though I wouldn't do what he is doing, even if I was in his position, or especially if I was in his position, but this makes sense. Like it works. Like you cannot blame a man. It's not simping, it's pimping if it works. Might not be the most moral thing, but whatever. Anyway, I remember feeling so excited that this amazing, famous, right-wing YouTube star obviously trusted me enough to bring me to his home, and to be honest, the whole experience made me feel a bit like I was in a movie. Oh my, has this girl been like reading young adult novels about like Paul Joseph Watson? This is the kind of stuff you would expect about like a K-pop star or something. It's Actually, I feel kind of wrong about reading more, but I will read more anyway. F it. He even started talking about how he wanted to give up the YouTube lifestyle and move to the country to start a family. As a traditional conservative, that's what I want too, and the way he phrased it made it sound like he was even considering me to potentially move away with. I can't quite describe how he would say stuff like that, but I just remember feeling very special and very wanted. He was really affectionate when we were hanging out together, putting his arm around me and kissing my head, and all this sort of stuff you do in a relationship. It was just the first time we'd met, but I thought that maybe we had something special that just worked from the start. Okay, I believe this is real. Like, I am pretty sure this person actually did these things with Paul Joseph Watson. The reason is, I don't think anybody, like you would have to be a really good experience, sorry. You would have to be a really good experienced writer to write something that is so it's just so correct. This is how a girl that is like mid-20s, this is how they speak for real. If they speak like this about you, you are doing very good. So Paul, you should be proud, I guess. After that weekend, we would still text each other a lot. I would sometimes get paranoid about girls I saw on his Twitter who looked like they were his girlfriend or knew him, but he would always brush it off as them being just a fan or a friend or some crazy bee. I was so desperate to be with him that I told myself that it was probably just me being silly. After all, I was the one going round his house, I was the one cuddling on the sofa, and I was the one he was paying all his attention to in the evenings when he wasn't working. So I just assumed that this is what happens when you start to date someone famous. Oh, Paul is major pimping. I'm clapping. This is pimping. This is not simping. This is pimping. Like, he's maybe on purpose, like making this girl jealous so that the girl likes him more. A smart guy. And like, he has the perfect platform for that, because he has like a public platform. Because if you or me do something like this, it's very suspicious. But like, if you have somebody who has a big following that you have to keep up, then you can always have some excuse and you can kind of like play with it. Anyway, we met up a few more times. He took me out to dinner in Chelsea. Wow. Which was really amazing for me, as I'm not used to going to places like that. Is Chelsea like a nice place? Like, I know Chelsea, but like, I'm not used to going to places like that. Does it mean like it's a really fancy restaurant, or is that like she's not used to going out of London, or like, because I assume this is happening in London. Well, okay, it is happening in London. Text continues anyway. And he continued to say things about how he wanted to settle down and start a family. Then maybe me and him could move to the country, away from all the trucks in London. He told me he found it difficult to say no when he was out with his friends. So okay, now he's implying that Paul Joseph is like pumped up on dope, on cocaine and shit. About the cocaine thing, as I said in one previous video, is that like these kind of performers, many of them use that. I don't know if Paul is using it, I don't know if he has the symptoms, but many guys are using it. Steven Crowder. And that he might even stop his YouTube stuff and just manage the Summit website so he can focus on raising kids. So the Summit website, from the research I made, is his website. He used to work for Alex Jones, but now he's like independent, and he has this website where there's all this news from like a certain perspective. And then the way he said it, I honestly now think, looking back, that he knew that this was what I wanted. I felt like he was telling me something, and in my head I thought, if I play my cards right, we can make this relationship work. I think kinda everybody does it. Like if you are dating with a girl in a city and like she wants to stay in the city, then you talk like as if you are gonna stay in the city even if you are planning of going away. So I think everybody kinda does it. Maybe Paul is like a little bit more calculative, but I think when they chat, they like he realizes that okay, this is what she wants, So he's just like playing that up to make it more interesting. It's like if a girl wants to go to America, then you say like, yeah, I'm planning to go to America too, even if you are not, you know. Around the same time, the same girl kept popping up on his Twitter feed, and I would see him flirting with her. I was starting to get really panicky whenever I saw this, because sometimes he'd flirt with her even as late as 5 a.m. in the morning, which made me wonder if he was out partying with people and I didn't know. He started to tell me less about what he was doing, and after a while I felt lucky enough to get 1 or 2 texts from him throughout the week. Okay, well, if he already has been sending a lot of messages before and he continue even like after the intercourse, then yeah, like, you know, she's not that, you know, naive. He has somebody else, of course, based on this behavior, because he doesn't seem like the type of guy who like strategically, you know, like reduces amount of messages. Like that is something that calculative evil people, like some people, do, which again would be memes or random selfies like this one of him as and his cat. He keep, you know, Paul Joseph Watson, he's saying like, no X, but who is the real cat lady? I asked him if we were exclusive and he'd just reply with a random picture or something. I started to feel like he was just taking the piss out of me. My man Paul, this is pimpy, you know, he's just like, he has like 1 girl in Chelsea, 1 girl in London, you know. I can already see what he's doing. In the end, I reached out to the girl and asked her if there was anything going on, because I was so paranoid. I found out that not only had he been seeing her as well, but he'd been seeing her even before me, and she thought she was his girlfriend. Man, Paul, he pimpy. He had been having her over for drinks, going out for dinner, and the first part, telling her that he wanted to settle down and move out the country to have kids. She believed that he wanted to do this with her, and so did I. She ended up spending the day talking to some other women who had been bothering her as well, and it turns out he has a track record of doing this. Oh man, they need to make a movie about my man Paul. Like, you start in your basement writing articles about the Middle East for Alex Jones in Texas, and you end up being like a 40-year-old guy, you know, doing some like questionable stuff in the London nightlife, and you have like a girl in every city, and you tell them, I wanna go to the countryside. Not only that, but I learned that he had even taken a girl's virginity, which she thought was okay because he promised her that they would be married. Okay, but you know, now you shouldn't mess with Paul, because he has done that. That means that you get 7 years of good luck. And I don't know when this happened, but based on this, it has happened less than 7 years ago, so he still has good luck. And due to this good luck, he cannot be defeated by a person who doesn't have that good luck. So now this girl needs to go and take a virginity of some guy, get that 7 years of good luck, and then write another article attacking this Paul, and everything will be right, just as the stars intended. After speaking with some more girls this week about this, I feel compelled to tell this story so that the female fans of his, if there are any, can be aware of how manipulating this person is. He is charming. He will tell you what you want to hear. He will offer you cocaine and alcohol to get you loosen up. And he will, to be honest, have quite rough sex with you, where he basically uses you as a sex doll and then totally abandon you when you think it's all okay. He will have multiple other girls on the go, and he loves the fact that so many women are after him because it feeds his ego. Wouldn't this description fit like almost every single male entertainer, and even some of the married ones? You know, like, yeah, I agree, female fans should be careful, but I think this kind of carefulness should be had with everybody. Actually, not even only celebrities, I think with everybody. Like, with my daughter, of course I will say, like, when they come to that age, I will say, like, you know, you watch out for everybody. Everybody is a ball. You watch out. Some of the other things which worried me looking back are this. He seems to like humiliating and degrading women. He would tell me that he would call up cam girl TV shows and make the girls do silly things like Hitler salutes and stuff, which he would take pictures of and share in the chat group. At the time when he showed me them, I was on coke and drunk, and I laughed along thinking it was funny. Actually, looking back, I think it was kind of degrading that he was mocking these women like that and making them debase themselves on camera so he could laugh at them with other men. His obsession with age and appearance also makes more sense now, looking at the way he would always bring up that when talking about other... Okay, they get into like... that because he's already 40, he wants some like young looking 20-year-olds. And of course that makes sense why he's asking the age. He's looking for people who are young looking. And you know, it's what it is. Like, I'm not gonna say it's like wrong, but you know, it's not right either. And this cam girl thing is first of all kind of funny, but this is simping. This is major simping. He's paying them, no matter he's like degrading or humiliating them. That's not good. And he's, no matter what, he's paying. Like, if he's doing some nasty stuff with some women, like that he get with his image, that is something. That's not smart, but it's something. It's more like pimping. But this, like, donating to cam girls to do Heil Hitler shit, okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, but them doing like all these, you know, nasty stuff, like inappropriate stuff, it's not cool at all. Like, you pay them, and then they do stuff that you ask them to do that doesn't require a lot from them. So I don't know, how is this cool? Like, Paul, what are you doing? That's major simping. It's off to the comments, and there are two. One is from Broadsword. I am sorry, but this reads like a pure fanfiction. The fact that the two of the private selfies he posted public on his Twitter and Snapchat also don't help your case. So I don't know about that, but if that is true, yeah, it's kind of suspicious. But I think this is real, because it would at least it would require like somebody who is really, you know, familiar with women of these days who are like 20-something. And also, like, to be very, you know, talented in writing to make it, you know, because all of this is so realistic and all this mind is so real. Like, this is so obviously a real person to me who has had this experience. Of course, some details might not be accurate, or there might be some information missing, but I think overall it is real. And then, Farchon from July 21st says, PJW literally wrote this himself, poorly. No, it's not badly written. The F you talking about, Farchon? It's well written, and like maybe Paul Watson would be able to write something like this, but I don't think he would write something like this. He seems to be avoiding this topic a lot.